Welcome to the lesson of factoring trinomial by using the box method. In the last few lessons, we learned how to factor by finding the greatest common factor between two numbers or by using prime factorization. Well, today we're going to use that idea to help us factor these trinomial by using the box method. So step number 1, if we're going to factor y equals x squared plus 7x plus 12, the first step you want to do is to make a box with a lowercase t in it. So I'll make a box down here with a lowercase t in here. Alright, step number 2. Alright, put the first term in the top left, so first term in the top left, and the last term in the bottom right. So in this case, we have our first term, which is the x squared. So I'm going to put x squared on the top left. And then the last term we have is a positive 12. So I'm going to put positive 12 on the bottom right. Alright, step 3. You want to multiply the two coefficients from step 2. So step 2, the coefficient, the first term, the coefficient from the first term, here, the coefficient is 1. So do 1 times the coefficient on the second term, which is 12. So 1 times 12 is just 12. Step 4, you want to make a table and find the factors of the product. So find the factor of 12. So we know 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 4 is 12. Alright, and that looks like that's all the factors of 12. Alright, step number 5. Let's find the two factors that add up to the middle term and put them in put them in the two open boxes with x. So we want to find two terms, or the two factors from the 12 here, one of these two factors, that add up to our middle term, and the middle term is 7. So if we look at this, we do 1 plus 12, that gives us 13. That does not give us 7. 2 plus 6 gives us 8, not a 7. But 4 plus 3, or 3 plus 4, do give us 7. So that's what I'm going to use. We're going to choose that, so I'm just going to circle that really quick. So we know that 3 plus 4 equals 7. So that's what we want to use. And that's what we want to fill in the two empty boxes. Now, it doesn't matter where you put them. You can put them in any order you want. But wherever you put them, make sure you put an X right next to them. So I'm going to put a 3 on the bottom left with the X, and a 4 on the top right with the X. Again, you can switch these two around. It doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer. Alright, step number 6. You want to go back to your box and you want to factor all the columns and rows. So to do that, I suggest you I'm going to use this box to cover the bottom two terms. And just look at the top two terms for a second here. So let's say we factor x squared and 4x. And this is where the greatest common factor that we learned a few lessons ago come in handy. So if you look at x squared and 4x and think to yourself, what do they both have in common? In this case, they both have an x. So I'm going to factor an x outside of the box. after you do that, you want to ask yourself, x times what will give you x squared? And the only term that will multiply to get you to x squared is x. So I'm going to put an x on top. So x times x will give us x squared. Alright, the next thing you want to do is ask yourself, x times what number will give us 4x? The only value that will give us 4x will be 4. So x times 4 will give us 4x. Alright, then let's remove this box. Then ask yourself again. Now we're looking from the top column. Now you want to look at this expression up here. So you're asking yourself, x times something will give us 3x. And the term for that would be 3. So 3 times x gives us 3x, which is correct. And then all we had to do is, for the last piece, is to check this 3 times this 4 and see if this gives us his value down here. And it does. So 3 times 4 will give us 12. And normally what I do is I draw a little box down here just to check at the end. So we know that 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm going to put a check mark in here just to show that we did do it correctly. So I'm going to remove this box for just a minute. Alright, the last step, your answer, step number 7, the answer is the product of the row and column. So the product again just means multiplication. So our answer would be y is equal to the product of the row, which is x plus 3 times x times plus 4. And if you're like, Mrs. Laura, how do you know if my answer is correct? Well, what you want to do is use FOIL, or the distributive property, to multiply these two terms together, and you should get your original term how we started. So to do that, we're going to use FOIL. And remember, FOIL is just an acronym or a shorthand for multiplying the first, the outer, the inner, and the last. So again, what I mean by that is multiply the first, x times x. So we have y is equal to x squared. And then multiply the outer, x times 4. That is 4x. Then multiply the inner, 3 times x, which is 3x. And last, 3 times 4, which is 12. So if we simplify this or combine like terms, we will get y is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 3x is 7x plus 12. And as you can see, our answer here is the same as our answer as we started. So that just means that when we get to when we completely FOIL down here, we are correct. So this is our most simplified form when we FOIL. Alright, so example 2. Again, I highly encourage you to pause the video and then check your answer with mine when you are done. Alright, step number 1. So we're going to draw a box. And then put a T in here. Now I'm going to put the first term, which is our x squared, in the top left. And then put our last term, a negative 36. Step 3, I'm going to multiply these two coefficients. So 1 times a negative 36, which give us a negative 36. The next step, step number 4, we're going to make a table of the factors of the product. So we know that negative 1 times 36 is negative 36. We also know that negative 36 times 1 is a negative 36. For this, I'm just going to ignore the negative for right now, and I'll come back to it later on, maybe to like on step 5. So let's keep on going. We know that 2 times 18 gives us 36. 3 times 12 also give us 36. 4 times 9 also give us 36. And lastly, 6 times 6 will also give us 36. Alright, so step number 5. We want to find the two factors that add up to the middle term and put them in the 2 open box with an x. So our goal is to find one of these two values, of these two factors in here, to add up to give us to this middle term. And I made a mistake. This is not supposed to be a 15, it's supposed to be a 16. So it's supposed to be a 16x. That was my fault. I wrote it really quick, and I must have made a mistake that I didn't see. So if you look at it, the only pair that will give us that will multiply and give us negative 36 and add and give us a positive 16 would be 2 and 18, because we can say negative 2 times a positive 18 give us a negative 36, and if we do negative 2 plus 18, that gives us a positive 16. So I'm going to choose this pair right here, this factor. So I'm going to put them in the empty boxes. So I'm going to write down negative 2x and positive 18x. And then I'm going to drag the box up here again to cover the bottom two terms, and I don't know why negative 36 is on top of the box and not on the bottom, but that's okay. But let's just look at the top two term here, x squared and negative 18x. The factor that the value that we can factor out of those two terms are the x. So again, you ask yourself, x times what value will give us an x squared? The only value that will give us x squared is x. And then you ask yourself, x times what value will give us 18? And the only value that would be a positive 18. Alright, so I'm going to move this box again. Alright, now you look at this top x on the top left corner and ask yourself, this x times what will give us a negative 2x? And the only term that would be a negative 2. So negative 2 times x will give us a negative 2x. And then again, I normally put a small box over here, which I forgot. You'll check and see if these last two terms multiply to each other. So the negative 2 times an 18, see if it gives you negative 36. And it does. So I just want to put a check mark here so to show that it does give us negative 36 and we are correct. Alright, so the last step, we're going to answer, our answer is going to be the product of the columns here and the rows. So when we write our product, I'm going to say write our factor. We're going to say y is equal to x minus 2 times x plus 18. And this right here will be our factor form of our polynomial. Again, if you want to check your work by using FOIL, you can, and you should get to our original polynomial right next to example 2 up here. Alright, example 3. Example 3 is very similar to the first two examples. The only difference is it has a coefficient of something other than 1. In this case, we have a 6 in front of the coefficient of our x squared term. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a box. Put a t in the middle. And then put the top left term, the first term in the top left box. So 6x squared. And then the last term in the bottom right. And then I'm going to put a little box here so we can check at the end. Alright, the next step, we're going to multiply the two coefficient. In this case is 6 and 10. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 10. 6 times 10 gives us 60. And then the next step, we're going to make a table to find the factors of the product. So 1 times 60 is 60. 2 times 30 is 60. 3 times 20 is 60. 5 times 12 is 60. And lastly, 6 times 10 is also 60. Again, you want to choose, the next step is you want to choose two values in here, or two factors in here, that will add to get you to your middle term, which is a positive 19. And again, I made a mistake, and it's supposed to be a positive 17, not 19. So two values to add to get you to positive 17 would be the 5 and the 12. So if we do 5 plus 12, it will give us 17. So I'm going to circle this. So we said 5 plus 12 equals 17, which is what we want. Alright, so I'm going to put, again, it doesn't matter which boxes you guys choose to put the 5 and the 12 in. Any one will work. So put 5, remember to put your x, and then 12 on the top right. Alright, so here is where we factor the columns and the rows. So I'm going to bring this box back up here again to cover the bottom two columns, or bottom two rows. So you look at this, and again go back to the greatest common factor that we did a few lessons ago, and see what is the greatest common factor of 6x squared and 12x. So let's just look at the 6 and the 12 first. What do they have in common? So if I was to factor a number out, what would that be? In this case, the greatest common factor for 6 and 12, it will be 6. So I'm going to factor a 6 out. And if you look at the x, this 6 has an x squared term, and the 12 has an x term. So we can factor one of the x out. Again, if you're confused on how we did that, you should go back and make factor trees and find the greatest common factors between the two values. Alright, now we can ask ourselves, 6x times what value will give us 6x squared? The only thing that can multiply to get us to 6x squared is an x. And ask the same question, 6x times what number will give us 12x? Which would be a positive 2. Alright, I'm going to remove the box. And now you're going to ask yourself, x times what value will give us 5x? Which will be 5. And then the last question, you want to check if 5 times a positive 2 will give us this bottom right corner number, which is 10, which is correct. So I'm going to just check this little box over here saying, yeah, we did that correctly. Alright, so the last step, we're going to write this polynomial in its factor form. So we'll write down y is equal to 6 plus 6x plus 5 times x plus 2. And again, if you're like, I don't know if I'm correct, go back and use FOIL and check your answer. I encourage you to pause the video and try the next example. Alright, hopefully you paused it and gave it a shot. Alright, so first step, make a box. Let's undo. Alright, make a T. And then I'm going to put the first term, which is 5x, in the top left. And the last term, positive 18, on the bottom right. I'm going to put a box on the bottom here. Alright, and again, I made a mistake. The middle term is supposed to be a negative 19x, not a 14. Alright, let's keep on going. So let's multiply the two coefficient. So 5 times 18, that give us 90. And let's find the factors of 90. So 1 times 90 is 90. 2 times 45 is 90. 3 times 30 is also 90. 5 times 18 is 90. And 9 times 10 will give us 90 as well too. So next step, we're going to find two terms in here that will multiply us to give positive 90 and also add to give us a negative 19. And the only term that will work will be this last factor down here, which is the 9 and the 10. So if we were to say negative 9 times a negative 10, that will still give us a positive 90. And if we were to, I'm going to move this box to the side for a second. And if we were to add these two, we say negative 9 minus 10, that will give us a negative 19, which is what we wanted up here. So I'm going to put negative 9 x on the bottom left and a negative 10x on the top. Right. Alright, again, I'm going to bring my box and cover the bottom piece. Again, I am not sure why on the right side here it's not covering some of the terms, but we're just going to go with it. So, look at the top two terms. What is the greatest common factor from between 5x, it's my fault, I forgot the square, 5x squared, and negative 10x. And so let's look at the numbers first, the 5 and the 10, negative 10. The only thing that we can pull out from those two, or the greatest common factor between 5 and negative 10, is a positive 5. And then the x squared and the x, we can pull the x out. And then again, we ask ourselves, 5x times what value will give us a 5x squared? The only value would be x. And same question, 5x times what value will give us a negative 10x? That would be negative 2. Alright, so I'm going to move this box. Alright, now you're going to ask yourself, we're going to use this x in the top left and multiply by what value will give us a negative 9x, which would be a negative 9. And then the last piece, you're going to ask yourself, check if negative 9 times a negative 2 give us a positive 18. And it does. So a check mark here just to show that we did it correctly. Alright, the last step. We're going to write this polynomial in factor form. So we're going to say 5x minus 9 times x minus 2 will be our factor form of this polynomial. Again, if you want to check your answer, see if you get back to the original term, use FOIL, and it should give you back to your original term. I'm sorry for this video being a little long. I just kind of walked through it a little slow so you guys understand how to factor polynomials. Again, if you have questions, ask me during work time. But other than that, have a great day. Bye-bye.